Hi, it's Jo Martin here, founder of One of Many, and today I want to open up a kind of controversial question. And if there's a man in the room with you right now, you might want to pop some earphones in because I'm wondering this today: do women make better coaches? Now let me come clean with you. I am a scientist by training, I'm a doctor actually, and so if you're someone who's also pretty rational and logical in your approach to things, you've probably got all kinds of questions coming up right now because what is a better coach actually? How do we define that? Should we be even having a conversation about men versus women? There's lots of tricky ones here, but recently I came across some research that I found really interesting and I thought you might be interested in this. It's a fascinating piece of research actually, which compares women and men when it comes to workplace engagement, which Gallup defines like this. Engaged employees are involved in, enthusiastic about, and committed to their work. These employees contribute to their organisation positively. Okay, so that's the definition according to Gallup. Now in 2016, when this particular piece of research took place, Gallup found that women were more likely to be engaged at work, 35% of women compared to 29% of men, and that female managers were more likely to have engaged staff than male managers. Apparently, employees who work for a female manager are 6 percentage points more engaged, on average, than those who work for a male manager. And female employees who work for female managers are the most engaged, whereas male employees reporting to male managers were the least engaged. Now, this is really interesting for me because we can link employee engagement very closely to the coaching relationship. Having someone be engaged in that same way is what coaching is really about. This correlation between female managers and female employees, because frankly it shows that women who manage women create those highest levels of engagement, it's directly relatable. I wonder if that's because as women we have a natural advantage when it comes to understanding how best to manage other women to get the best results, because we have natural empathy, we have so much more understanding about the pressures and the demands. Certainly in our experience here at One of Many, we've trained hundreds of coaches, and what we found is that it really seems like women are better coaches for coaching other women, especially when they're using tools designed specifically for that purpose. Because we all know, I think, that just being a woman doesn't actually tell you anything about someone, right? You can have the most linear thinking, single-minded, aggressive, results-driven person in the world, and that's what we would call a very masculine kind of energy. But that could absolutely be a woman. So it's not about male or female here. What I'm talking about, I guess, is more masculine energy versus feminine energy. Another example to describe that is Margaret Thatcher is someone who springs to mind for me. A great leader. She rose to the top of a hugely masculine culture here in Britain where I live in the 80s. And I, however, would argue that her style of leadership was still very masculine. So just because a coach is a woman doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be more effective. But when you have a coach who is a woman and who's trained in a coaching methodology that's specifically designed for women, okay, that's where my scientist hat starts to slip a little bit, and I find myself using words like magic trying to describe what happens, because there is this amazing synergy that happens when women collaborate together towards a certain outcome. As women, we understand what it's like to live in a culture that looks at women in the way that our culture does. We also recognize that there's a lot of our culture, especially at work, which is driven by a very distinct set of values that make up the paradigm in which we live. But for a lot of women, those values don't actually encompass the whole of our experience. So we find ourselves in this situation where we're really effective at times, and then at other times we find ourselves falling apart. Maybe we struggle with managing our emotions, or we can't seem to get past our imposter syndrome, or we never seem to earn what we feel we should be capable of because of this paradigm we live in. And understanding that as a woman for another woman can be really powerful. So there are challenges which can feel like they're so personal, but which actually come from and are experienced by a huge proportion of women. And we've found that having a coach who is a woman, who might have totally different experiences, maybe has worked in a different industry or had a different upbringing or be totally different, but can relate to those experiences, being understood and being known in that way can be incredibly powerful. When a coach is armed with tools and strategies designed to support other women specifically to move past those challenges and turn them on their head so they can become strengths, wow, that's where we see huge levels of success happening and where the success starts to look a little bit magical. It brings to mind for me a message that we received recently from a lady who's worked with one of our coaches. And she said this, she said, "The biggest result is the feeling of freedom I now have. I haven't felt that for quite some time. I know now," she says, "that it's okay to feel anything. I have tools to deal with anything. I have value as a person, and I'd stopped thinking that I had. I feel happiness, it's back." And I think that's really important. That's what we want as coaches, to help people to do that, right? So when you know that it's okay to feel anything, it's quite incredible how much energy gets freed up to just get on with life. I really think there's a special relationship between women coaches who use these tools to empower other women. It's that genuine sisterhood, you know, that very ancient sense that women can support other women in really unique ways. So let me put this question to you now. I mean, that's my take on it, but how about you? Have you been coached by a man? Have you been coached by a woman? How did you find it? Have you worked with men and women? Who do you enjoy coaching if you're a coach? Leave me a quick comment here. Let me know what you think about the whole idea. But if this video has been interesting for you, please do share it and click like if you'd like to hear more from us. I'd love to hear what your experience has been working with other women.